Hi Stampers, this is Kim with Great Inspirations. Thank you for joining me. Today we are going to take a look at some cards I call partial front cards. And why do I call them partial front cards? Because a portion of the front of the card has been removed to create a fun card design. Now there are all different kinds of ways that you can alter the front of the card to make it just a little bit different from the normal card where you just open it up and both panels are complete. But these are the ones that I have gone to time after time, and you may be familiar with them. Some of you may not be. Maybe something will be new to you, but I thought it can't hurt to just go over these partial front card designs. And like in my last video, these card designs really lend themselves to using pattern papers, especially complementary papers. And do you see a Christmas card there? Well, yes, you do. In my last video, which was the first one for 2025, I explained that with each video, I will show at least one Christmas card. And the reason for that is this year, I'm going to make a few Christmas cards a month. That way, by November, I should have a really good stash of cards to be able to send out. And then I should have time to make gift tags and packaging and that kind of thing without getting too close to Christmas. That's my plan anyway. So in each video, I will share at least one Christmas card with you so that those of you who want to make a few cards a month, just to give you some inspiration and some support in that effort. So now, let's get on with learning how to make these partial front cards. I'm going to move some of these, and we are going to talk about this one first. It's pretty straightforward. Just part of the front has been cut away, and then I have this pretty flower image that I use as a focal point. I've used two patterns of pattern paper. And the other thing I did that I think just really finishes things off is instead of using dimensionals, I cut multiple die cuts, just blank die cuts, they're not colored, just multiple die cuts of this image. And the ones in the center are white, but the one on the very back is the same color as my card base. So when you open it, there's just some continuity there. And you can still use dimensionals if you would rather, instead of stacking the image of the shapes. But I would suggest if you use alcohol markers to at least cut one blank die cut that is the same color as your card base to just put on the back and finish it off. But again, you can still use the dimensionals with it. And if you do use dimensionals or foam tape, just make sure to put it only on the back of the image that will actually be attached to the card front. If you were to put some up here, then you would basically adhere your card closed. So what we need to construct this card is we need a card base, and that's what I'm going to walk through with you today, the card bases. And for this particular design, which is a partial card front, it is a portrait orientation and it opens from the side. So what you're going to need is cardstock that is 8.5 by 5.5. And we're going to take the trimmer because we are going to do trimming and scoring. So I'm going to put this arm out. I don't think I need it, but if I do, it's there. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure the 8.5 inch edge is at the top, and we're going to slide it over to 4 1/4. And we're going to score just like we would for any normal card. Then we're going to put the score blade down at the bottom there, and we're going to cut, and we're going to cut down to 2 1/2 inches. And I need my little piece of white paper here so I can see my numbers on the trimmer better. And we'll go down to 2 1/2. Now we're going to open this up, and we're going to rotate it to the left. And we will slide again over to the 2 1/2 inches. We're going to cut, and this time we're going to go down to 4 1/4. Four, and then 1/4. Now, because we've scored at 4 1/4, when you hit that score line, you will feel it. So now let's see if we've got this. Yes, there's this extra piece. Now, if you want, you can keep this to use for the backing for the image if it fits. So let's take this. Put the trimmer away for now. And here is what our card base looks like. And we're just going to fold our front over just like for any other card. I'll get the bone folder. Get those corners matched. And there we go. There is the card base for this card. Now, the pattern paper for the inside here, you would need 4 by 5 1/4, just a normal layer. And this section right here is 3 inches. So the base, or the paper, you would cut it at 4 by, remember this is 3, so 2 3/4. 2 3/4. 4 by 2 3/4. Now those measurements, as well as instructions on how to cut this card, the card base, those will be found on my corresponding blog post. And the link to that blog post will be found in the description of this video. So this is our first one, the partial card front. And like I said, it is a portrait orientation, and it opens from the side. Now, our next card is this card. And it is a landscape orientation that opens from the top. And guess what? It's this. Instead of having it in portrait, turn it this way, landscape, and you have another card design. So that's kind of a 2 for 1. So we'll put this aside. We'll bring our bone folder back over here so I don't knock it off the table. We'll put these 2 cards aside. And here is this card. Now, if you don't like doing those, I call them the L cuts, where we cut down, rotate it, and then cut down again. Well, this might be the card for you, because these look similar, don't they, as far as the design. But this opens from the side, and you only have to do a score line and then 1 cut, and it's a very easy cut. It's just straight down, no turning, no rotating. So let's work on that one, and you've probably done this before. So here is our card base, and it is going to be 11 by 4 1/4. And we are going, well, maybe, we're going to open this up, and of course we're going to score at 5 1/2. All these numbers. Okay, there's 5 1/2. We will score. And now we're going to move over to 8 1/4 inch. This way we don't have to take our cardstock out at all. We're just going to move that score blade down. And now we're going to cut. And there's our extra piece. And we'll put this away for now. We'll fold. Now there is a bit of a difference in that they're the same height, but this one is 1/4 inch wider than this panel. See, it's just a little wider. But if you wanted to add 1/4 inch, you could do that. You could just cut it at 8 1/2 instead of 8 1/4. That's totally up to you. But what this does, you're cutting away exactly 1/2 of the front of the card. So whichever you prefer. So there is our partial front card in landscape opening from the side. Put that away. We'll put our little sample card away. And now we'll take a look at this card. This is another one that's very easy. There's no rotating necessary. It is a portrait card, portrait orientation. And just a piece of the front has been cut off. The Valentine's Day card. I didn't put a sentiment on the front of this one. I just didn't think it needed it. So, but anyway, inside it says Happy Heart Day. So you can see over here, we've just put a piece of pattern paper. And it makes a very quick and easy card. So we'll get a card base. This one is again 8 1/2 by 5 1/2, and we'll get that trimmer out again. Get everything up to the top. And we are going, I need to check my numbers here. Okay, we're going to put it at the 8 1/2 at the top. We will need the little arm here. And let's see, we're going to score it at 4 1/4. There's 4 1/4. We'll get the score blade. And we'll just move it down to the bottom. Now we're going to go over to 7 1/4 of an inch. There's 7 1/4 and cut. And here's our extra piece. We'll put this away again. And we will fold on the score line. And there's the card base. And over here you will have 1 1/2 inches of the inside of the card. So I cut my paper at 1 inch wide by 5 1/4 inches long, because this is a portrait version. Okay, so there's that one. And we'll just move this on over to the other pile. And now we have this card. And I like this card. I know I've made this before in a video. It opens from the side, but is a partial front card in the landscape orientation. And you just have a cute little strip in here where you can write a sentiment, which I probably should have moved this up a little bit so I would have had a little bit more room to sign my name, but I think there's enough space. As you can see, for this one, we have used the 2 patterns of pattern paper. I think that would be really cute for a little boy or a little girl, but I was just thinking a little boy. And we have, instead of a stamped greeting, it is a die cut. So this is very easy to make. It's very similar to the first one we did. It just uses cardstock that is 11 by 4 1/4. And we are going, I have to turn my paper over here so I can remember all the cutting. So we're going to, of course, need this arm. Need our blades. And we're going to, excuse me, put this over to 5.5. And we're going to score. And move that down. And now we'll do some cutting. And we're going to cut down to 2 inches. Okay, right on that score line, we're going to cut down 2 inches. Get my paper. There's 2 inches. And now, just like we did for the first card, we're going to rotate. And we're going to move this over 2 inches. And we will cut down to 5.5 inches. The paper doesn't want to slide in there. Let's try this. There we go. Well, no. Okay, that's just not working for me today. There we go. So now we're going to go down to 5.5 inches. And again, because it goes down to the score line, I will probably feel it. I should. Sure enough, there it is, 5.5 inches. And there's our extra piece. And all we have to do, use our bone folder. And there is our card base for the partial front panel, landscape, and it opens on the side. So here are the 4 we did. Remember this one, let me get these cards, is this one. It opens at the bottom, and it is also the Christmas card. It opens from the top. So there's that one. And then we did the one that is looks like this. It just opens from the side as opposed to the top. And here it is. And then we did this one where we just cut off excuse me, 1.25 inches from the front. There it is. And then finally, we did this one. And here it is. And so there you have it. There's our 5 card designs that you can use. And as I said, they really lend themselves to the pattern paper. So if you're really trying to use up that pattern paper, these designs work really well for that, as did the cards I did in my last video. And actually the cards in the rest of the videos for the month of January. I'm going to concentrate on using up the patterned paper. So coming up with ideas for you to be able to use them, and not just one design, to be able to use 2, maybe even 3 designs on one card. As I said earlier, all the instructions, the measurements, and actually a list of the supplies that I used and where you can get them if they're still available will be found on my corresponding blog post. Until next time, stamp happy!